Welcome to Seymour from the Front Pew podcast, coming to you from the broadcast studio at Seymour First Baptist Church in Seymour, Tennessee, and featuring thoughts and discussions around loving God, loving others, making disciples, and living the life. I am your host, Tiger Brooks, and now, on to the podcast. Okay, so here we are once again in the Seymour from the Front Pew podcast studios, and we've got another really weighty theological podcast to bring you. And we're going to depart again from weighty theological things. I was being facetious.
We might have one of those next week.
Yeah, we probably need to swing back. You know, the pendulum swings from, vision and biblical texts to interesting places we've eaten in recent years. and
the real question next week is, are we going to be able to make you cry?
Possibly.
So, but it's a good, what's the word? Representation of who we are.
Yep.
Probably.
We can
Next
talk
week
about,
or this week?
I mean, like the whole thing. We can go from weighty theological things to, what makes your stomach upset pretty quickly in our conversations.
Speaks to our staff meetings.
That's what I'm saying. It's a good representation of who we are.
Probably the most hilarious aspect of this whole thing is the thought that we could have gotten through more than one segment in a 30-minute podcast last week. When
I think the most
we brought
hilarious-
three segments.
I think
to the
all
table.
of us except you knew we wouldn't.
Yeah, that's correct.
I mean, I had a feeling that we
You
would
had
not.
6 minutes for top 5 meals all time on this this schedule.
Austin
6
talked about
minutes.
beef Wellington for at least 6 minutes.
At least.
That's what happens when you ask AI to help you make a schedule for a podcast. It's too logical.
2 stories to that. The first is that's not the most hilarious. The most hilarious is that people are still listening to this.
Yeah, right?
Are they, though?
Well,
Hi, Mom.
when I think about last week's, I'm like, I need to take 2 because 2 of them I got wrong. I mean, like it was like I didn't have enough thought on it.
Have you noticed that with the new Apple update, there's a image playground AI app?
I've seen that it's on there, but I've not
I
played
didn't
with
even
it.
know what it was. I just clicked it last night while sitting on the couch.
AI?
And it made me, AI. I don't know if you've done that yet.
No.
I look creepy. Really creepy.
Well, show us now.
The first picture they showed me, it's gone. I don't know how this app works. But I was bald, but had this tuft of hair on the top. And Leo was like, no.
All right. Crazy.
All
I
right.
don't have that one yet. Maybe.
So, yeah, I gotta look at it, play with it. All right. So, one of the segments suggestions that we brought last week that obviously did not make the cut, we're going to come back around to this time. And we are going to... That's pretty good.
Not bad.
I know.
It's definitely got the
That's pretty
glare
good.
of your head.
You have a much
tell what
stronger
that is
jawline
in the-
than what it gives you there.
in
it's
the back.
it's a glare. It's the light hitting
It's
his
the
bald
glare
head.
of the head. Okay,
It's the Shekinah glory.
That's the Holy Spirit.
So we are going to depart from talking about food this week. It may come up, but the subject of this week's segment is our top 5 favorite. Understand it's favorite, so it's personal to each of us. It doesn't matter if these are the best athletes or whatever, but top 5 favorite professional athletes of all time. And so we thought a lot about that.
The last 3 minutes.
Austin's been putting in the last
Look at
45
my list.
seconds of real in-depth thought into this.
Anyway,
Oh, fair enough.
And mine's been ready since last week.
I got mine ready now.
And
order.
our illustrious leader is ready.
But in the couple seconds before we actually pressed record on this, we did make the distinction, except for Jason, that it had to be professional athletes. So it
Which
knocked
all of
out,
mine
like,
have
coaches.
They were professional.
Yeah.
They were,
And
It's not
college.
professional coaches. It's not.
Right. So
Yeah.
like for me, Bobby Bowden would be on the list, but he was never
It's not your top 5 North Carolina athletes
right.
away
Yeah.
for someone to do.
actually, there's only 3 that are North Carolina athletes. Period.
Oh, okay.
2 are not even.
One, you and I are bound to be. On
there's
the
no
same.
question,
So,
yeah.
okay.
One is natural that it ought to be in the top 5
Yeah.
for everybody.
Yeah.
But
Well, not
my boys
necessarily
will
for
argue
him.
that. So
All right. So
That's my number 1. But
let's.
I've got some honorable mentions that I'm still like writing there.
As the MC of this
Yeah, I got on.
thing, I can declare on who is going to start, and so I think I'm going to let Corey start.
All right. So I will start. And
We're always-
We're going to start with number 5.
I don't know. That's
Say,
all right.
don't we always go that?
No, he started. He did start last week.
We're going to start with number 5 and go around.
All right. So my number 5 is I'm giving categories because I end up kind of choosing one out of each category. So I have to get some honorable mentions as we go. But my number 5 is Reggie White.
Okay.
I would
respect it.
and I would say that this is my UT athletes category, and really the only other one in there for me right now is Al Wilson. So, and we were talking about this. So my big thing is athleticism. Like, so when I think about my top 5 favorite athletes, I think about the real athleticism that they're showing. So I'm not necessarily going off of personality. I'm not going off of are they a good guy or not a good guy. Now Reggie White. He's probably the best guy out of my top 5 or whatever else. But yeah, man, he was just a beast and an incredible football player, fun to watch. Really before my time of watching UT football, because my time starting with UT football was really the early 90s, Peyton Manning. I can remember a little bit of Heath Schuler. But yeah, so Reggie White's my number 5.
Yeah.
Al's on that. I would tend to think about Hendon Hooker a little bit too. Just anyway, but
Professional
that's true.
athletes.
He's professional.
yeah, he plays.
Well, he's not accomplished anything in the professional athletic realm,
Yeah.
but that's fair enough.
Yeah. So anyway,
qualifies.
Yeah. So,
I will elaborate on Reggie because he made my list. He's just a little bit higher.
okay. So yeah, I'm number 5.
Okay.
I'm not.
No,
We're rolling, right?
I am very
Yep.
happy.
Are we going this direction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a tie for number 5 because they're in the same category.
I get that.
Okay.
The first is Happy Gilmore.
Okay. Okay.
Probably one of my favorite movies growing up. And he was a professional athlete for one
See,
season.
and if I was going to do Adam Sandler, I'd have to do Waterboy.
But he was not a professional athlete. That was
goes
college.
professional?
Happy Gilmore. The ball went to its home. And then the tie is with Ricky Bobby. Would also be. You're my best friend. Shake and bake it.
It
I
wasn't
don't know what to do with my hands.
was an incredible recovery.
It was.
Oh mercy!
Oh boy,
I
we knew this was going to derail real quick. That's why you didn't start with it.
knew. It doesn't matter what
Can't feel my
criteria.
leg.
Doesn't matter what criteria I establish. You're going to go the other way.
Well, you got to think outside the box. It's what keeps the people coming back for more. It's really.
I mean, like if anybody's watched this podcast, they cannot be surprised that his idea of athlete is very skewed from what normal is. So,
His idea of sport is skewed.
But Happy Gilmore and Ricky Bobby
Yeah.
would be, they take the cake. For
Fair enough.
Number 5.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, my number 5 is going to be Shaq.
Okay.
I
That's a
like
good call.
Shaq.
See,
That's a
now
good
you
call.
have to qualify that because you have to say Shaquille O'Neal
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
can't because we have a Jemai Mayshaq.
Yeah, no, but there's only one.
Ain't nobody getting those confused.
Yeah, there's only one
Yeah,
Shaq
yeah.
when it really comes down to it. So yeah, I liked him when he was playing ball. I mean, he was dominant,
It's a
big
good call.
man. I mean, just fun to watch play. But he was also just a bruiser. I mean, it was just enjoyable. But I've only grown in my affection to him outside of his basketball career, and him and Shaq and
Charles Barkley.
Barkley and man, I love watching them and their takes, and they're funny. I think in all intents and purposes, he's a pretty good dude, very charitable. So Shaq's
and
one of mine.
I mean, like when he dominant.
Oh,
big man.
gosh, he was incredible.
I actually saw some of his LSU highlights the other day watching some college basketball. And man, just so dominant. It's been a long time since we've had big, huge, dominant guy.
I can't.
I
couldn't stand. I mean, when he was at LSU, I couldn't stand. Dale Brown was their head coach, and there was one episode. This was y'all were little. There was one episode when UT and LSU played, and Shaq, though he was dominant, he was a shadow of the man that he would become because he was just skinny, but he was still freakish. He and a player by the name of Carlos Groves for UT got into it. Groves was stocky. He wasn't nearly as tall, but they started like pushing. Well, Dale Brown ran on and started swinging on Carlos Groves.
Oh, wow.
And the thing that made me so mad is nobody said, I mean, he didn't even get kicked out of the game for it. He should have been suspended, you know. And so, you know, I've got all that weight, but I totally agree. The player that he became in pros, and then he post his playing days, he's even skyrocketed in you know, popularity. But tremendous athlete. I mean, you can knock him for his inability to shoot a basketball. He can't shoot free throws, but unbelievably dominant and taking over. I mean, you could not guard him if he was on the block down there.
I mean, like it literally created a saying, hack a Shack. Yeah. And that was the only way you could guard him was to just try to
foul him, go on
hit
the
him
free
as
throw
hard
line.
as you can.
Yeah.
So,
have you seen, though, speaking of this, may be a podcast at some time, but have you seen his one chip challenge video? Where he did the one chip challenge, and he was, oh my gosh, that is absolutely. You need to go watch that because he acts like he goes in with the Shaq mentality, like I can do this, and it's not going to bother me at all. And within seconds, he's like, "Oh, what did I do?"
That's funny,
and it is so funny to watch.
We are not doing that. Not in here.
No.
I actually thought through a basketball player, and I was going to put Penny Hardaway on mine because that was who I liked.
Memphis.
I was an Orlando Magic fan.
Not anymore.
As a kid,
tied to each other,
and I liked Penny.
I keep thinking of guys, and I'm like, alternating anyway. But I think I'm
good choice, Shaq. All right,
all right. So this is a man, in my opinion, probably could rate higher than this, but given my list, this is where he falls. Number 5 on my list is Walter Payton. So Walter Payton, for those uninitiated, unbelievably gifted running back for his size, had power to spare, had very fluid motion. And he played in what arguably, you know, a lot of people consider one of the greatest professional teams, the 1985 Bears. I mean, I was 15 years old. I was in the prime of my football playing days. And, I mean, that was it. They took over everything.
Super Bowl
shuffle.
I know all about that, but not because I saw it. When it was actually happening.
We weren't born yet.
It
was 85, right?
Yeah, 85.
It was the year I was born. So.
I know. Thank you.
Yep.
And so
I wasn't born yet.
He was Refrigerator Perry and Mike Singletary. I mean, that's fun stuff right there.
Yeah, and the tremendous team. But I mean, not only was he a great athlete, but he was a tremendous person off the field too. I mean, they have the Walter Payton Award that's given annually to the professional that. It, you know, just kind of has his qualities and exudes his qualities on a yearly basis. I mean, Walter Payton, my fifth.
Yeah. All right. So we go to 4. My number 4 is MJ, Michael Jordan. Just, I mean, just changed the way basketball was played.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's it. But like when I go to that, there's I don't know, there's a few guys. So I also loved, again, I'm big athleticism guy. So I think about dual sport, probably could have done some other things, really good golfer, all that other stuff. And so that time, venue, and that type of mentality, I also think about Dion. Like, but MJ is to me like higher than that. Although Dion may have been a better athlete than MJ, as far as overall. But
but you could make that
because Dion probably could have played pro basketball too. But anyway, that's
MJ could not play baseball.
He tried.
Yeah.
So part of this, even I think it was on the way back from India, I watched one of the documentary things about Dion when he played. Basically, he was playing in the baseball playoffs and in football, and he played in. Well, they didn't end up playing him that
same game, same day.
Same day, played on both teams, and
that's incredible.
So anyway, just the ability to do those types of things, even just to be on pro teams in different sports. I just love that athleticism and all.
I'll just we can like shorten this by simply me saying he's my 4 too.
Yeah. Okay.
Michael
good.
Jordan is 4, and I would just add. I don't know if he's on either. He's on.
He's
your
my
list.
1.
Okay. So I would just say he. You can argue about if is he more important than Kobe or LeBron and all these things, these arguments that go on. I think for me, he is clearly better than all of them. and just for my money, I watched that was again.
I'm gonna have an argument at my house again now.
That was my heyday again. But I would say this too: LeBron is a specimen from a physical standpoint. But I still think athletically, nobody can touch what Michael Jordan could do because not only was he an unbelievably, his highlight film creating dunk machine and, going from the foul line and all that, but he won multiple awards as a defender of the year.
Yeah.
And, LeBron is great. But I don't think that he meant to. He didn't mean to basketball what Michael meant to basketball at the time that he was doing it.
That's the question I've always. I don't get into all that very much because I don't really watch basketball. But I think most everybody would say Michael Jordan changed basketball.
Yes.
Can you really say that LeBron changed basketball?
No, it already been
Say
changed.
it about Steph.
Yeah, I think you could say about.
You could
and
say
I think
it
you could say
about
about Shaq.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't. So I think that's part of the qualification of when it comes to that debate of
But
Kobe.
the one thing that
Kobe did a little bit, but but LeBron was dominant, dominant, but didn't change the game.
I think the thing with LeBron is the long period of
Longevity
time
is incredible.
and the longevity of being at such a high high
Performance
value,
level.
performance level,
He's
importance.
20 years in and still.
Yeah, and you can't. He is surpassed in that.
Yes.
There's no one that comes close to him in that.
Yeah.
But I'm still an MJ fan.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. For me, MJ, of course, number 1. But I think for me, why number 1, it spans beyond his pro. He's a Carolina guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he came out of North Carolina, and I love his story across the board.
That's where the legend began.
Yeah, and he won a national championship for us. It was I wasn't born yet. '83 is whenever he won the national championship for us, and but I've gone back and watched that game, so I've seen that game, that national championship game, and watched him play, and but then even what he did. Even beyond just basketball, but like with Nike and the shoe deals and I mean he
also
did
changed
just drastically. And LeBron has shoe deals because I mean that all started with Michael Jordan, and none of that would have been there. I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened at some capacity, but it started with him. And man, I just love I even for me, again, growing up in North Carolina, we hear and talk all about the stories of Michael Jordan and his conversations with Dean Smith and all how that, that relationship and all of that. So for me, he's number 1, just mostly, yes, I loved him I was at Michael Jordan's last game at in the Charlotte Hornets arena.
Fun.
I went and watched his last game. We knew it was his last game, and we went and watched him, his last game for Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah.
And then of course he goes and, probably the only thing that he has done in his whole time that he should have never done was be an owner.
Yeah.
That was a mistake. He shouldn't have done that. But other than that, he's top for me. And again, I think part of what spans top for me is he is tied to a North Carolina national champion.
Another element of him too is even now, like, so he's ventured out into NASCAR and has some successful teams and all that stuff. And he's not driving, but it is that drive and that excellence and those types of things that, anyway, just really, really interesting.
And let's just be honest, he also has the best Space Jam. There's just no question.
Oh, yeah.
The first Space Jam is the best
Space Jam fan.
I wouldn't even put the other one in the conversation.
No, it's not comparatively.
Yeah.
All right. Number 4 for you.
Number 4 is also a tie for me because for me, it's childhood baseball stars. And so...
You're maybe if somebody's leaving.
Yeah, he's done. Out.
He dropped his pin.
This is awkward. Corey's under the table. hiding. No, of course, I grew up a
You
massive
muted me.
Braves
you didn't
fan.
mute yourself.
I grew up a massive Braves fan. So the top of the Braves pinnacle was Greg Maddux.
Okay.
So loved, everything I did growing up was Braves, and so Greg Maddux, man, gosh,
We need to get
see
together
the
and watch
stats.
that.
I can't. It hasn't been released,
I
that
found it.
documentary. Oh, you found it.
on
I would
YouTube.
love to watch it.
Okay.
But I mean, Greg Maddux, you look at the stats on that guy and what he did, just insane. So there's a lot of baseball people that I'd put on my list of favorite athletes. But as far as when I was a kid, and then Griffey Jr. was
it's
just,
fun.
I've got a autographed ball in my office of King Griffey Jr. and that swing.
Yeah.
Good gravy.
Yeah.
I mean, it still is the prettiest swing in all time. So even though I wasn't a Mariners fan, I loved King Griffey Jr., but so a tie between King Griffey
So,
Jr. and Greg
so I've got
Maddux.
some honorable mentions on that side, and it's that Ozzie Smith, Willie
Yeah.
McGee, Vince Coleman. I mean, like that.
And
that
that's
was my favorite.
none of those guys made
Cardinals
my
years.
list. As an adult,
Yeah.
I've gone back and
Yeah.
loved all that stuff because now I'm a Cardinal fan. But as a kid, I was a Braves fan, so
Yeah.
that's where that comes from.
Playing on that horrible concrete AstroTurf.
Yeah, turf and Busch Stadium too. Yeah.
So, all right.
Yeah. My number 4 is Julius Peppers. I like Julius Peppers. Again, why?
How in the world does that name make it to?
I don't even know who this is, but
So-
if you watch New Girl, he writes books about Julius Pepperwood. I was like,
So again, so much of me is tied up in North Carolina. It just is. It's North Carolina basketball primarily, and Julius Peppers is one of the only North Carolina athletes that basketball and football. He spanned both, and he was so much fun to watch as a North Carolina basketball fan.
Mm-hmm.
When he was playing football, I could care less about Carolina football.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're from
'cause
Carolina.
nobody cared
isn't
about
that-
Carolina football.
I was about to make a comment about did anybody even know that he was a football player? 'Cause
We knew
the
because
three
he
people
was-
who
we-
go to North Carolina football
No,
games?
we knew because because of what he was doing on the basketball court. Because they would start talking about, Julius Peppers, and you'd see him. Again, he wasn't a great basketball player. He was just this massive body inside that
He was a far better football
couldn't
player
move.
than he
Oh,
was
he
basketball.
way better football player. And then they would talk about how he was, here we're watching him do what he's doing on the basketball court, and they would always say, but he's doing, this is what he is in football, and so that would make us go and watch him on football. To be honest, probably the only reason I started watching Carolina football at all was because of Julius Peppers, and he was a good
Oh, yeah.
pro player. He did. He had a good. I think he's Hall of Fame. Now I don't know if he's Hall of Fame yet or not.
I don't know that he's made Hall of Fame yet. I
But
can't remember.
was a good
Yeah.
professional player.
Defensive Rookie of the Year, 9 Pro Bowls.
Yeah,
Had to
But-
look
I
him
can't
up.
remember if he's been. Has he made a Hall of Fame yet?
It doesn't look like. He was in 24.
Okay.
Yep.
I
so
thought
just last year.
I thought he had just had
last year.
that.
Yep.
So yeah, so for me, Julius Peppers again. The reason why is when I grew up watching North Carolina basketball, that's the name we kept kind of hitting and watching, and
Yeah. Interesting.
he
Yeah.
kind of hit me.
He
there,
was,
so
he was
enjoyed
an
watching.
unbelievable athlete.
Yeah. I've probably got one of those that won't be on y'all's radar either. So yeah, I get that. All right, so
So we
you've
did
done
my
your
four,
So
yeah.
I'm back around to 3, and my 3 is probably my favorite Titans player ever because I like
I know who it's going to be.
Titans are big for me. So it's Derek Mason actually.
Oh,
so,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
That
See,
did
so
knock me off guard.
so it's Derek Mason. Derek.
Same
so-
first name. Not
Yeah,
same last
so,
name.
Maybe going Derrick Henry.
Yeah, so I love Derrick Henry,
Yeah.
but for me, I think about that beginning time
Yeah.
when the Titans were new. Mason was a utility player. I mean, like his first couple of years, he was returning kickoffs, returning punts, wide receiver, all of those types of things. Steve McNair is hard for me to give up, because
Yep.
man, he was a beast.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about dual threat quarterback, and again, co-MVP one year with some other guy that has connections around here, and then
Number one over here, I'm
yeah,
sure.
and then I loved Eddie George. I love Derrick Henry. I do love
Yeah.
Derrick Henry, and but my favorite's probably been Derek Mason, and so Yeah, I mean, like we probably would have had a kid named Mason, but my best man for my wedding named his dog Mason. So then it was like, so anyway,
That's funny.
yeah. I put in that range again. I don't know if I said that Dion. Well, I said that with MJ anyway. So put that in that range too. So, anyway, but yeah.
All right.
Okay, so for me, it's what I have always liked looking at professional athletes is I love it when they're very competitive on the field. But as far as like especially with the Cardinals and stuff, when I look at what they're doing off the field, that weighs in for me probably more than anything. So my number 3, I actually was walking out the office and I thought, I'm going to take a bobblehead for this. And ironically, Matt Holliday is my number 3. So Matt Holliday came up, played with the Rockies. We traded for him, and he came over. And so I like Matt Holliday as a player because he had home runs and stuff, but he would just hit line drive home runs because he was just a beast of a man and strong as an ox. So all of his home runs weren't moonshots or anything. They just were just line drives that just go out. But then he was widely known for he'd get off the field and he'd go and make hospital visits at the Children's Hospital and an outspoken Christian. And I just always loved watching Matt Holliday. And then one of my favorite Cardinal memories is when they brought Matt Holliday in his last season. They knew it was his last season. He had gotten hurt or something. He was out for a long time. They brought him back in just to let him have the last at bat in the end of September, and he wound up hitting a line drive home run in his last at bat. It was one of the coolest.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember just jumping around the room and everything. And so, anyway, Matt Holliday's my third favorite, and it's
That's fun.
He's great athlete, but more just for who he is.
Good person.
And still is. You know, his son's now playing for the Orioles and everything, and so
that's cool. My number 3 is Kobe. I loved watching Kobe. Again, that was in the heyday of me watching basketball, and especially pro basketball. I've always been deep into college basketball, obviously because of Carolina, but I would say what really got me watching professional basketball was Kobe. And of course, Shaq is tied to that too, and you know, the NBA championships. And but to me, if you have any argument of anyone who is comparative to Michael Jordan, it's Kobe. It's not LeBron James, because to me, Kobe and MJ are the closest to. It's fascinating to me watch some of the, you know, how they'll mirror up the moves of guys, and man, Kobe could almost mirror MJ, and so I loved watching him as a basketball player, and of course he didn't go to college. He went straight to the pros, but he said he would have gone to North Carolina if he was going to go to college. But I just enjoyed watching him. My boys still know Kobe. Preston will run around the house shooting something up and yell Kobe. And
I didn't have as much of an appreciation for him until after he was passed. And then, of course, the Olympic,
that was fantastic.
Team,
yes.
A documentary came out. And
yes.
To me, he single-handedly turned that Olympic team into what it was.
Yeah.
And he just set the course of, we are going to be die-hard, physical, we're going to win this, and we are the best athletes on the court, and we're going to show it.
Yeah.
But
even for him, it's like one thing we talk about Michael Jordan's athleticism and everything that he did, but Michael Jordan, I think, had the one thing that to me ties the two of them together. We just never really talk about it with Michael Jordan. It's labeled with Kobe, which is the Mamba mentality. His mindset on the professional, like, I don't care if you think you're better than me. I don't care if anyone else thinks you're better than me. I know that I'm better than you, and I'm going to prove it, and I'm going to put my foot in your face. I mean, that was just the mentality, and it's just, to me, I love a professional athlete that comes out and is like, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to dominate this game.
And then he matched it with work ethic. And again, it's that side that I didn't see or know when he played, but man, what a work ethic. Hit the gym before, after.
Yeah.
I mean, just, anyway, a lot of fun.
Yep.
As an aside, new documentary that's out now is the team that beat the Dream Team.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? The
Yeah,
college.
I've seen that.
It's you probably don't want to watch it because Grant Hill's kind of the host of it.
Yeah.
But
Okay. He's not one of my top 5 hated.
it's very interesting because for me, Allen Houston was on that team, that college team that beat them in practice.
It's the one that humbled them.
Yes.
It really created that.
Yeah, that created the monster, and we went out and killed everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, good one. You want to watch that. So my number 3, real close to some of the reasons that Austin loves Greg Maddux. You got to understand, again, I'm significantly older than y'all.
We know. We get it.
And when I was young and impressionable, growing up in
You know where your phone is right now.
in the early 80s,
We're out of work.
He knows where it is, but
I
not
know
how
where
to
it
use
is, and I know how to use it.
it. Picture, not video.
Early 80s. Early 80s. You all have to remember, I grew up.
And not remember back then.
My generation. Did that come out your nose? Not yet. Not yet. We might get it out of the. Anyway. Okay.
Who is your number 2 again? Or number 3. I haven't lost where we are.
I hadn't even said it yet. All right. So early 80s. You need to understand, when I was a kid, we had 4 channels on the TV. All right.
And one of them was TBS.
Yes. When cable came into being in the late 70s, early 80s, okay, there was one team that was always on, WTBS, because Ted Turner owned the team.
I remember where we're going
And
with this.
this is where they developed America's team, the Atlanta Braves. And on that team was a man by the name of Dale Murphy.
Dale Murphy.
He played center field for the Braves, and that was in the era where they were terrible, and they were coming into their own. They were on the rise, and their popularity was rising because of WTBS, and a number of great personalities on that team. But Dale was simply a really, really good baseball player, and he was a really, really good guy. And he won a couple of league MVP awards. And, they never made it to World Series or anything when he was there, but he helped to build that brand. And, that was my young and impressionable years. And I wore his number playing Little League baseball. And so anyway, Dale Murphy is number 3 on.
So I even think about that. So I've got a couple of Chicago players that I'm fans of because WGN was the same way, and
Superstations,
Ryan Sandberg and some of those guys or whatever. Anyway, but
on a side note, though, you said 4 channels, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've always heard it joked said if the president comes on, he's on every channel.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that happen?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, when I was little, I told Ellie this not too long ago. There was a time when you had those channels, and at night they would go off the air, and all you would see is a test screen, and they would go to snow.
Oh yeah,
there was no.
Usually,
TV.
It was the national anthem would play before they
national
all went
anthem
off.
played before they go off, and I knew it was really special if I got to see the national anthem play on the television. I was just bucking the system and staying up way later than I should.
Yeah. Well, and you knew it was bedtime when the MASH intro started playing. So, I never watched it. I don't think my parents even did, but it came on anyway. So
Interesting.
All right. So what was that? That was number 3 for you.
That was
so
3 for me.
Number 2.
Now we're back to number 2.
So my number 2 is not the best athlete on my list, but it's Tiger.
Not me.
Not you. No. His drive.
He's.
And his
I thought about
over
putting
time,
him in there. Yep.
And really, just he was never out of contention, and he changed the way it was played, and he changed the approach for minorities toward the game of golf. All of those types of things were just
But work ethic.
work ethic, and he again. Didn't matter what position he was on in the golf course, his ingenuity on how he could shape shots and make shots and just all of those types, just unmatched.
Yeah.
And
I watched golf because of Tiger.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a period of time where I thought, man, it's like he builds toward Sunday. It's like he probably not. I've never ever heard him speak of that. But like it was like he was okay on Friday. He was a little bit better on Saturday. He was good on Sunday or Saturday, but then on Sunday,
He
you
went
were
to another
done.
level.
If he was in contention, you were done.
Yep.
Like he
And they
was
knew
going
it.
to track you down and beat you by 10.
Yep.
And it was just anyway.
And it was the color of the shirts that he would wear.
Yep,
right.
yep.
To those days.
So
The red shirt.
Yeah.
That's championship right there.
And I would agree with that. He didn't make my list, but I mean, it's interesting if you think about all these athletes we've mentioned. All of these athletes that we've mentioned so far have been athletes in team sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you think of someone who was dominant in an individual sport like golf, he was dominant in a way. Now, I don't go back. I may be old, but I don't go back to Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer.
No.
Jack Nicklaus was an unbelievably dominant golfer.
was.
But Tiger, for a long time, like you say, it's like, okay, it's who's coming in second this tournament because he was so far ahead. And he's another one that changed the game.
Yeah, I believe so.
He really changed the game of golf.
Yeah.
So and anyway, so that he was on my number 2.
So my number 2 is, I would say, almost in the same vein some way because one of the things I like about sports is when people are so dominant that they put a sport on the map. So whereas Tiger, you're saying, an individual who brought it forward, whether it's the Brownlee brothers with triathlons or Michael Phelps with swimming or I had somebody else in mind. Anyway, that brings a sport out of nowhere. So even though it's technically not a sport on my list of sports, I almost put her at number 1, but Simone Biles is my number 2.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Because good
She
golly,
put it on the
is she
map,
dominant? And when she is on, when the Olympics are on, or even when it's not the Olympics, when it's other stuff where the gymnastics actually makes TV, I am going to mark it on my calendar, and I'm gonna be watching every second of that girl on the floor because good golly, is she just I mean so much. I mean everything she does, you're just like, holy cow.
And for a long period of time.
And for a long
dominant period of time.
Right.
So I'd put the Williams sisters. Again, they didn't make my
who
list.
That's who I was trying to come up with a second ago was the Williams
Venus and
sisters.
Serena. I mean, just my work. And again, work ethic, Biles' work ethic, all of that type of
Right,
stuff.
and like tennis, like they're a good example because tennis, like, you kept up when Federer played, and but how many of us watched a tennis match to see the Williams sisters play?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or what was the volleyball girls in the that?
Yeah,
played
I know
together?
who you're
So,
talking about.
Megan Trainor and
Meghan Trainor is the singer.
No, not her.
All about that bass, no treble.
He's old. It's okay.
He's old.
No, I know you're talking about the same volleyball players.
He's not Googling it right now. He's putting on Facebook. Instead of sending a message to Paige, he's posting on her Facebook page. Hey, Paige, what was the name of that girl? I'm just kidding. Yes. Gosh, I can see her. The tall blonde-haired girl and the, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway, but Simone Biles is my
I like
number
that.
2, and I
out of the
really
box.
like how dominant she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you find it yet?
I'm looking.
All right. You're number 2.
My number 2, not a great professional athlete. He did play professional athlete. Again, this
So he
is basketball.
qualifies.
He qualifies, but he was not good as a professional. And to be honest, we knew coming out of college he was not going to be a good professional athlete. I think that's why he stayed 4 years at North Carolina, and that's Tyler Hansbrough. As a North Carolina fan,
Misty May Trainor.
oh yeah,
That's it.
Trainor. Thank you very much.
I didn't say you
Not
weren't
Megan.
far
And
away.
Carrie
Megan.
Walsh.
I'm just saying Carrie Walsh.
Carrie Walsh.
Yeah, they
They
were
were saying it wasn't all about that bass.
But Tyler Hansbrough, he is the quintessential North Carolina basketball player. I mean, I can still vividly remember him playing Duke and coming down with the broken nose, blood all over his face in the game, and him trying to go after the Duke players. And like as a Carolina fan, that's like, yes, like that's my man. Like
It's funny.
outside of Michael Jordan, no, you're my number one Carolina player, and he is the leading scorer in ACC history. He topped JJ Redick, which makes me even more happy because I hated JJ Redick as a college player. To be honest, I still don't like JJ Redick, but never will probably. But Tyler Hansbrough, and he is on the team Megan just recently found this out. So she asked one day why. So we got married on 11/12/11. And she said, why didn't we get married on 11/11/11? Well, on 11/11/11 is when North Carolina played Michigan State on the aircraft carrier. The first ever game that was played on the aircraft carrier.
And you didn't want to be.
And I wanted to watch North Carolina play Michigan State on the aircraft carrier. So we got married on 11/12/11.
Missed it by that much.
So close. But he was on that team. And that's our 2005 national
Priorities,
championship.
Priorities.
team.
You got to have your priorities in
So
life.
funny.
I loved 2009. Excuse me, 2009.
All right, so we're number 2.
Yeah, my number 2, we've already mentioned on Corey's list, but Reggie White. Reggie White makes my list at 2 because he was a UT player, and he was a dominant college player, and at UT, I mean, he's in the ring of honor around the stadium. They called him the Minister of Defense, something else that we haven't brought out about him. But he, early 80s, this was really before players got even more freakishly, large and could, run really fast. It's crazy when you watch the combines now about how these guys are 260, 280 running 4.5s, 4.4s and stuff like that, which is crazy.
Yep.
Anyway, but
jumping.
Even at that time, Reggie was uncommonly strong.
Yeah.
He was just so physically dominant as a player. Then he goes on. He unfortunately, that was at the time when the USFL rose to fame, and they drafted a bunch of the players. His rookie year, he went to the Memphis Showboats, so he wasted away a year or so in Memphis before going to Philadelphia, and then the rest is history. Obviously, he became an unbelievable Eagle, and then went to the Packers and won a Super Bowl. Changed by the way, he changed the whole. That was in the era before everybody was traded. He broke the mold when it came to a noted player going from one team to another team and signing the astronomical contract.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first one that did that, and then obviously it just is a normal thing.
Yeah.
But Reggie White was number 2 on my list, an amazing athlete.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 1
Yep.
is Michael Phelps. So one is I was a swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
Then beyond that, just again, we talk about dominance, dedication. Even at
Again, one that you're going to want to turn the TV on to.
I mean, like
Absolutely.
Olympic. I mean, like just Olympic dominance. I mean, just like no other. And then for me, even at the end, nearing the end of his career, I don't know if it was the very end of it, but that the butterfly race where he comes behind, and it is the perfect example of. And I love the old memes. I was actually pulling them back up, but losers focus on winners. Winners focus on winning.
Yeah.
And just the difference in those mindsets and those types of things where you got the guy, looking over at him or whatever else. And just, again, it's one of those things where it didn't matter where you were in the race. I think about those relays where he's anchoring those relays. It didn't matter where it was coming into the last leg. You knew you had a shot. You had a shot. Now, whether it was, he ended up winning the vast majority of them, but you knew there was going to be a shot at you winning that race. And so he's my number 1. So
my number 1 is not. He was a great athlete, but not because not the MJ status didn't change the game, but it's Adam Wainwright, Cardinal pitcher. So many reasons. Part of our story why we're Cardinal fans, why I love it so much. I was always a baseball fan. We decided to stop having our TV at night as Eli was young on stuff that he probably didn't need to see. And so in that time, Leah kind of picked up baseball. And so we would start watching baseball every night. And I kind of explained the game to her. And we were living right there in the shadow of Busch Stadium. So it was easy for me to become a Cardinal fan and us just to kind of share that, watching those together. But that was in Adam Wainwright's heyday, and both on and off the field, just a magnetic personality. Always wanted to watch him pitch. That curveball was just unreal, and loved watching him pitch every 5th day. But also, he's a fun follow, like on Twitter and everything. And then, again, outspoken Christian man, and the things he would do off the field, you'd follow. You just had a lot of respect for him. But then he began using his platform, like his Twitter following, to encourage people to read through the Bible with him in the year. And so he would post every day what scripture he was reading and a short devotional on that. And like to take that time, I just really respected and then as he's done some commentating, and I would assume is going to do a lot more, just love to watch him. He's always been, ever since, I guess for 10, 15 years now, he's been on the list. We joke in our household, the list of if you could sit and have dinner with 5 people, who would it be? And he has always been on my list. And I think even his wife, just to know what it would be like to be the spouse of someone like that everybody's always clamoring for his attention. But yeah, big Adam Wainwright fan.
That's cool.
Very cool.
So, yeah. So you heard my number one. It's MJ.
Yeah.
But I'll give an honorable mention that wasn't in my top 5, and it's actually not even a basketball connection at all. It comes back to whenever I was growing up in Mooresville, which is Race City, USA. It would have to be Dale Earnhardt.
Oh, that's fun.
And
yeah.
So Dale Earnhardt, for me, I am not a NASCAR person now, and in a lot of parts, I'm not a NASCAR person now because of Dale Earnhardt's death.
Yeah.
Not because he died, but I loved watching NASCAR when I was younger, but I watched NASCAR for the wrecks.
Yeah.
And when Dale Earnhardt died, the reality kind of hit. People can die doing this.
This is what I'm
rooting
rooting
not
for.
okay with that. Like,
And that's one of
not
those
exciting.
I've told this before. That was the first full NASCAR race I ever watched, and I've kind of been a fan ever since. I'm not a diehard fan. I don't watch every Sunday or whatever else, but man, you go back and watch his stuff.
Oh man,
dominant, intimidator.
Yeah.
Would have never been pushed around from the pits to the track. I mean,
he was called the Intimidator for a reason.
There is
a reason. I mean, he went in, and I mean, to me, one of the changers of the sport. The sport of NASCAR. I mean, he's just, to me, he's one of those that would be in that category for me that, one of the athletes that, and to me, those guys that get in them cars, the athleticism that it takes, it's a different kind of athleticism, but it is crazy what they put their bodies through and the way that they.
I'm surprised about one, Mia Hamm.
Yeah.
I mean, North Carolina, soccer. Anyway, just
again, as a North Carolina fan,
sexist.
I'm the only one who put a woman.
Mia Hamm is. I mean, I love Mia Hamm. And you could go to what she did for USA Women's, and I remember watching her. I remember watching the World Cup game and when they won it, and watching that. And so I mean, I love Mia Hamm, and that documentary is a really good one too about Carolina soccer. So
Cool.
No doubt about who your number one is.
no
doubt. And I'm a little surprised that you didn't put it on there.
I was never a Peyton fan.
That's true.
I watched.
Hey, don't take my thunder. Peyton Manning is my number one.
I don't think anyone.
everybody knew it.
That's like asking what Jason's favorite holiday is.
Yeah.
Like
Father's Day. Remember?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Peyton has gone to do so much more post UT.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you look at somebody that just
Funny dude.
has been rising. I mean, still. I mean, he's like. I don't know of another athlete that has had the sustained success that he had both at college and in the pros and post-pro. Whatever he touches, I mean, it becomes. I mean,
Bradshaw did. I mean, similar style of trek.
Similar,
in a
not anywhere
precursor,
close,
right?
level.
But,
anywhere close to the level. But I mean, who would have thought getting you and your brother Eli to talk while a Monday Night Football game is gone would just explode
and draw that much
popularity.
attention. No, I get it.
More people get excited about watching them talk football with whoever it is that's on with them than watching the game.
Sometimes I turn to the channel not to watch the game.
So I've had more respect for him from Broncos on.
Yeah.
Yes.
I liked him at UT, but I was still kind of developing football fan, and then I'm purely a Titans fan.
Sure.
I
you can't
not
root for
like
Indianapolis
Peyton Manning.
Colts.
I was not going to. I mean, like even if I had wanted to, I couldn't do it. I watched him play
because
couple
he was
different
in
times.
Indy.
I hate Indy.
Yeah.
Just like I hate Baltimore. Baltimore has gotten every one of my good players at some point in time. So,
how many Super Bowl rings does he have? 3?
2.
Two.
Yeah,
You just have one with Denver, and
one at Colts, one at Denver. So, but you gotta again. I gotta go back to. I've been always a huge UT fan. So I was at the game that he first entered into as a freshman when UT played UCLA in the Rose Bowl. First game of the season that year. The quarterback goes down, Jerry Colquitt, knee injury, and they bring in Todd Helton, who was also unbelievable Hall of Fame baseball player. But then Manning came in about halfway through that game and played several downs as a freshman. They ended up losing, but that's when the legend began. And then just imagine, I mean, I'm 20. Well, how old was I? I'm 24, 25-ish at that time, and he comes up his junior year and he has that press conference that says, "Hey, and you just kind of knew that he could go pro and he would be a first round draft pick." Man, he says, "I'm coming back to the University of Tennessee." I mean, I can remember listening to that conference, that on the radio. I was listening to the conference as I was working at my dad's service station.
Yeah, it's fun.
And me and Dad are high fiving and hugging.
that's
We're
cool.
like, he's coming back.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and then just, he's a good guy. I mean, he's always done it the right way. You can quibble back and forth about, I mean, obviously it's hard to rob Tom Brady of his greatness with the number that he's won. But
Peyton Manning is more likable.
If you want to talk about somebody that changed a game, the way that you cerebrally play the game of quarterback in football, I mean, nobody ever did it.
I think cerebral. I mean, he is just dive in, study.
Yeah,
he knew where people were going to go, what they were going to do, and then would work. I did always marvel at he and Marvin Harrison and how they would just be so in tune with what to do, and that came because of reps. They would put in the work.
You just ask defensive coordinators, what they felt like playing against him, and just how you just couldn't. There's nothing you could take away from him.
Right.
He's going to exploit whatever you give him as a player. Anyway, we're way over now. That's been our top 5 favorite professional athletes of all time. Here on Seymour from the Front Pew podcast. We hope that you found some level of enjoyment out of this. And if you made it to this point already, thank you for listening through the 53 minutes of all these things. And maybe next time, again, if you don't start telling us what you want to hear about, you're going to hear more stuff like this. So
you have no right to say anything.
Send your emails in about what you would like to hear us talking about. But anyway,
that's it.
Let's go. Say bye, guys.
Later.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Seymour from the Front Pew. Our sole desire for this podcast is to glorify God by educating and encouraging His body. If you would like to learn more about anything you've heard today, feel free to reach out by email at staff@seymourfbc.org or by visiting our website at seymourfbc.org. If you're located near our community and do not have a church home, come worship with us at 10:15 a.m. on Sunday morning. Until then, we pray God's richest blessings on you and yours as you love God, love others, make disciples, and live the life.